specifically naming Protoss players, I do wonder if there's going to be something there.
Yeah, definitely could be. I mean, he had that one close match we talked about against T. Drogo in Challenger as well.
Yeah.
That was just a 3-2 win.
Even Home Story Cup, it was Stats, I think, that was able to defeat him once.
I mean, stats is stats.
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's get started here with map number 1. We're going to be playing on Thunderbird and starting in the northwest, playing as the Blue Zerg. It is Finland's and hence Serral.
And down in the bottom right, we have the red Protoss player. Goes by the name of HellRaiser. Team Clash.
Not going to go for a super early scout here. He throws down the gateway and then goes across the map behind it. So not going to be able to block that hatchery, which, I mean, Serral, like, he always knows how to adapt properly from there. I feel like a good way to go about this matchup is you have nothing to lose here if you're HellRaiser, obviously.
Yeah.
And ideally, he will have studied the recent games that Serral has played against Protoss, in which, you know, we've seen him bleed a little bit in that one series against T. Drogo. There were a couple aggressions, you know, that did just enough damage that behind this, you can get ahead enough that in the mid game you can make something happen. In the late game, it's just really hard to picture Serral losing. In the very late game, like that just shouldn't be happening. So it's really for the early to mid game where you're going to have to be the one making something happen to try and get the win.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. The games that he played, or Serral played versus Petit Drogo, the kind of weird thing about that was that there were some macro games that Drogo was actually doing pretty well in. So it is really kind of funny. I wonder if Serral, again, like going back to ZVP, if this is one of those matchups that maybe Serral's struggling a little bit more with, but it's so hard to say that about Serral, right? Does Serral really struggle with anything right now? What does that actually mean?
I mean, there's so many good Protoss players on the European ladder, and he's always, you know, well above 7,000 MMR, so he must be facing a lot of them and beating them consistently.
Okay, so like you were saying, we have pretty normal looking openings over here for both of these players, but the Cybernetics core finishes up. We'll see HellRaiser maybe add on a couple of those gateways, then we'll start to see some of the tech choices coming out from him. So there's that first Adept getting chrono boosted out. We're going to see, is there going to be that Stargate follow-up that a lot of Pros players like, or is it going to be the Robo? Stargate's going to be the choice.
Yeah, and in the main base, like, so he's, you know, he's not panicking, he's scouted the timing on link speed, and he's like, well, I don't need anything in my wall just yet. On this map, it will be harder to scout inside of the main base. Like we see the first overlord of Serral, it's like towards the natural, so he can't really fly into the main base. So he's going to set up a second one, but you would scout very, very late. You know, it's a long rush distance for the overlord to cross the entire map and be there. But we cannot just say, like, it's really nice. We have a lot of players, you know, that went into retirement and then they came back to play in these tournaments, and they did guys like Snoop and stuff. It's really nice to have a commentator that retired and then came back to commentate one more. So it's good to have you here.
Whoever could you mean, Todd?
It's a pleasure to have you here, Fear Dragon.
Good to see you as well. All right, so we do have an Oracle coming out of that Stargate as soon as it finishes up. So this usually means the difference of what this will mean between that or a Phoenix First is the Phoenix First, you're going after some of the free damage of those easy Overlord pickoffs. So at the Oracle First, you are hoping to get it across the map and hit just a little bit earlier. And sometimes the Zerg players will be cutting those Spore Crawlers for a tiny bit longer than they normally should. But look at the minimap. Todd, normally I want you to look at the supply, but just a little bit to the left of it. You see that map vision there with those links for Serral. There's no way that Oracle gets by without being seen, and there it is.
Yeah, this is sick here. Great scouting. He was going to send the second Overlord in, but then actually HellRaiser very nicely made the pylon in that corner as to say, don't even try to get in there. I'll be ready to kill you. And the Phoenix will go on the hunt, and it feels like Serral knew that was going to happen, so he sent the Overlord that was there away early enough for it not to get caught and sniped, at least early on. I guess the Phoenix will keep on looking for now.
Yeah, what's so funny is, exactly what you were saying. Both of those Overlords have managed to survive, and that might actually be pretty crucial. If Serral finds an opportunity to go back in, he will see a second Stargate has been thrown down. Now, nice cancel there from Serral, and softens up that Oracle. That Oracle has not really done anything so far, Todd. It really hasn't gotten a whole lot of value.
Got a single cancel on a Spore that was remade instantly, so it's not like Serral even lost a single drone here. That was really nicely done. +1 air weapons! Oh yeah, it's a Roddy build. Double Stargate Phoenix. We're going to be seeing a lot of these guys. And HellRaiser is ready to go for I guess for now he's going to hide them and then eventually fly across the map and start killing units left and right. This is particularly good on maps like this where the second and third hatchery are like far apart because you need to rally units in between them, and it's also very hard to cover with enough spores. You know, you're going to have to get a second spore per base eventually. But in this case, Serral is rushing Hydralisks, which could be very dangerous. Like, it feels like they're super early in comparison to where the Phoenixes are production-wise.
Absolutely. Oftentimes, you'll end up seeing the Hydralisks come out around the time that the Phoenix are starting to hit, but these Hydras are already going to be out in pretty decent numbers by the time the Phoenix decide to move across the map. Oracle looks like it's going to be taking a lot of damage. It does go down to the final shots on the Queen. That's painful.
Yeah. And I mean, from there, HellRaiser is not going to be able to get any info anytime soon unless he can fly that Phoenix behind enemy lines. But when I look at the timing on those Hydralisks, I'm like, okay, this could go very bad for HellRaiser very quickly here in this game. Like, those Phoenixes, they're flying across the map hoping they can kill stuff left and right. If they get caught by the Hydralisks here, this would be very bad. So he needs to see them and how many there are.
Yeah, very important, though, that Serral does, because he invests so much into all these Hydras, he does need to be able to defend this without taking too much damage. Losing a few Hydras here and there, that's okay. We end up seeing, ooh, Serral's vision. This is something I think a lot of people have been waiting for.
He's looking all over the place, basically. Oh, my, that was fast.
Where are the
Did
Phoenix?
you see the Stürmers?
Oh my god!
Wait,
Wait, I did not even see him spread the creep.
That was
That's
insane.
Wow.
Wow. By the way, that was a really nice timing from HellRaiser. Like, he got there before there were going to be enough Hydralisks that it was going to be really scary. So he killed a bunch of them. But now seeing how early those are and how many there are, he's like, you know what? I already need to be thinking about the transition. So I'll go straight into double Robo Colossus, which I like. But you already need to be thinking about the next step. Like, what is Serral going to do? A lot of the time against Colossus, you know, there's going to be stuff like Vipers. He could try to flood with Roach, Ravager, Hydralisk, but that'd be very risky and not very much like Serral. So he throws down a ping, yes, of all things.
Loses another Phoenix over there. He gets an Overlord and a couple of drones, but he's going to dart over to the main base. There are two Spore Callers in that mineral line. They're going to force those Phoenix back here. We have HellRaiser's vision, as he's going to be darting around, trying to control these Phoenix. Keep an eye on those Queens. He knows those are the danger target for him, as he needs those Phoenix to just buy space while he gets up that double Colossus you were talking about, Todd.
Yeah, these players are so fast nowadays. Like, you can tell time after time, year after year. Every single pro gamer is perfecting their timings, their mechanics.
Man,
I'm always very impressed when we look at it.
I'm super impressed with how fast HellRaiser's playing, actually.
Definitely not one of the necessarily more known players just yet in the Starcraft scene, in the WCS circuit, but definitely one of the guys that we need to watch out for, that definitely eventually could reach the top, be one of the better players that we have. Twilight Council about to finish, double Colossus production in full effect, and as you would expect out of Serral here, Hive, Spire, he's just going to get everything and then kind of leave all of his options open, and then from there he can pick. We could be seeing a very long game here in game number 1 if neither player chooses to go for a big attack.
Yeah, and I don't hate it from Serral, because if you think about Thunderbird, it is one of those maps where there is that one ramp outside the natural in the third base, and trying to move up it if your opponent has, say, 4 Colossus and a decent ground force to kind of buffer against those Hydras is a really, really big ask to actually get a whole lot done there. So I like that Serral's just teching up, like you were saying, getting up the Spire, getting up the Hive, and thinking about maybe trying to die a 4th base instead.
This is getting to the really scary timing, by the way, where there's like enough Hydralisks that if you're not careful even for 1 second with your Phoenixes and they get caught, they're all gonna die. So HellRaiser has been very cautious.
Oh, well, I mean, forget about the Phoenix. It looks like this army is going to be enough to push back the Hydras for now. Really, really small army, but HellRaiser makes a lot happen with it. And the Phoenix didn't even come back home. They're just still picking off more drones.
Really nicely done by HellRaiser. He's already, I feel like, looked so good in this series. Even in supply right now with Serral, +2 attack on the way. He's going to start being the Hydralisks. They're right here.
Oh, you
That's
realize
what I
it?
was talking about.
No. That's 3 Phoenix down.
Yeah. Much better to keep that alive up until the point you're maxed out, and then you can replace them later on. But I wonder if HellRaiser has any plan to actually be really aggressive off the back of this. Keep in mind, he didn't go for charge. So he's going directly into Blink. That means he cannot send a Warp Prism in the main base and do like a big charge lock warp in. It's almost like a Wings of Liberty, you know, esque game so far with the Colossus plus Mass Blink Stalkers, and I think he might want to be playing aggressive with this. He has quite a few force fields to work with.
Yeah, he definitely wants to try and get something done over here. A lot of Banelings just finished up over there for Serral.
And there's no Ravagers to break the force fields.
That's definitely true. And we're going to see a few more Corruptors being added on to try and snipe off those Colossus. If you can also get the Warp Prism, that would be a really, really big win over here. But here we go. HellRaiser's trying to poke forward. He's looking for that 4th base. There are a couple of force fields preemptively force fielding out all those Banelings. We already see his vision. keeping an eye on the high-value targets. Microing back those Colossus against Corruptors and keeping an eye out on those Hydras as well. You can see him moving back and forth along his army. He's doing a good job keeping a lot of his units alive, but he has no Colossus left over. Is this army enough?
Yeah, the War Prism is a little bit far back behind here. HellRaiser trying to bridge this position. The Colossus are all dead, but the Corruptors now have nothing to kill. And Serral's just going to tap out. He was not ready for the timing. HellRaiser with a brilliant game number 1.
That is absolutely phenomenal. This is already an amazing start for our young boy HellRaiser, getting the first game off of Serral. And Todd, there wasn't like some big gimmick involved in any of that. Of course, the double Stargate opening did some damage, but it wasn't like that game was won off of the double Stargate opening and the harass. It was won off of a really well-controlled engagement.
He looked so good. That was incredible. And with like a very specific build as well, that's not necessarily like the most standard one, right? Like just ton of Phoenixes plus 1 air weapons, and then he hit the right timing with just like all of his sentries. I think were about full energy as well for a ton of force fields. He was like, you know what? You're not gonna have anything to recounter that, and
the jacket's coming off. Todd.
Oh god,
the jacket's coming off. This man is serious.
It's go time.
Okay, the jacket's coming back on.
How dare you win a map off me?
Yeah.
Was he gonna put it back on?
No. I think he was just taking off he's taking off one layer of clothes, letting himself breathe a little bit. As game number 2, I mean, Serral is not the kind of player who will just let you win the series. People have taken games off of him here and there. You know, people remember it for months and months and say, yeah, remember, I'm the guy who took a map off of Serral. But the problem is, Todd, taking this series off of him is not quite so easy.
Wow, I can't believe HellRaiser is 1 map away in this group here from making the playoffs already.
Can you imagine if Serral had to advance out as a 2nd seed?
That would be pretty shocking, yeah.
That would be mind-blowing. Well, Serral getting ready, and we're going to find out what the next map is. Now, I want to note that, again, Thunderbird is one of those maps where turtling up to 3 bases is a much easier thing to do than most other maps in the map pool. Yeah. And the 4th base is what becomes vulnerable, and you saw that that's exactly what HellRaiser was trying to push into. The 4th base that is a little bit more open and a little bit easier for HellRaiser to try and make an attack into. So I want to see, what is that next map going to be? Looks like it's King's Cove.
And starting in the northwest, playing as the Blue Zerg. He lost a map. He bled so far in this series and in this tournament. It is Serral.
And this man down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, he is living up to his name as he is definitely raising hell. He is HellRaiser.
Looking absolutely fantastic in that game number 1. Like, you know, like I said before, when you get an upset like this, a lot of the time it's going to be off the back of a very cheesy strategy, something aggressive that really caught the opponent off guard. So obviously, I think that timing last game definitely caught Serral off guard, but the overall game wasn't a cheesy strategy. No, it was like double Stargate Phoenix, up to 3 bases, like a lot of units, and then a timing like that looked really, really good, I thought. And that perfectly countered Serral's composition. I feel like if Serral had gone for Vipers, that would have been a much better alternative, but obviously, you know, there was the Phoenixes he still needed to worry about, but going for Corruptors, I think maybe he fought a little too early with the units instead of just letting the Corruptor deal with the Colossi and then re-engaging. And also because of the hatcheries, they're all far away the way they are on this map. The reinforcements took way longer to get there to help reinforce and actually clear up that fight.
That's definitely true. It's really interesting because the funny thing about that engagement was Blink wasn't done, and now there was +2 weapons for HellRaiser. So HellRaiser was going to have some upgrades finishing up a little bit later on. I do wonder if there were, for example, Vipers and stuff, if he could have pulled back, but I think it wouldn't have been, for example, quite so simple. So
I think if the Colossi got abducted and sniped, like, this fight will not even be close. But you know what's funny? Also, like, the Prism was all the way back, and I was like,
it was super far back.
I was like, this is a mistake. It should be close. But no, actually, he could still reinforce after he lost his Colossi because Corruptors weren't killing the Prism because they weren't even seeing it. It was further back. So it's almost like 200 IQ move. He was like, I'm going to lose all my Colossi to the Corruptors, but then he's still not going to find the Prism because he's going to be all the way back, and I'll be able to reinforce and win the game.
You have to be a little bit faster, as we kind of saw with his vision, where he was kind of darting back and forth between the Warp Prism and the army engagement, kind of microing while also trying to warp in. But it definitely worked out, and we're going to see another Stargate opening coming out over here from HellRaiser. He's going to get aggressive with that first Adept. He's moving across the map. He's chronoing out a second Adept as well. And Serral, just grabbing those fast 3 bases, is not going to play any weird opening too differently.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Stargate openers when they're like well executed. Like we've seen some games where the Oracle's kind of flying, they take a lot of damage and they don't do that well. But in the games where that doesn't happen, it just looks so convincing. Like you can actually not only gain an economical lead, but you also get so much information out of it.
Yeah. I love when you have these situations where there are not actually that many Lings, and they kind of still scare off the Adept because Protoss players are sitting there like, oh, do you have your Queen nearby? Do you have more Lings nearby?
The 10 Lings are about to hatch as Metabolic Boost will finish, so this could be very dangerous. Like Serral is a little bit of a wizard in terms of being able to get his Lings inside of the opponent's base. HellRaiser is going to have to watch out. I don't even know if he even suspects it. He's going to go for the wall off now, but there's nothing right now to really seal that off.
Stalker's going after the Overlord. Oh, no, Todd, this is a worst-case situation right now.
There's, I think, Adepts coming back to go into the wall. Can he get
Is he going to make it back there in time? He can try and shade out right now. No, he realizes it's too late, and now the Ling's got a full surround on one of the Adepts. The second, he's just staring at his Serral, just like, I know what I have to do over here. I'm the prize. Well, first Adept does go down. A couple of Lings do manage to survive and will be able to continue scouting around. This, of course, is not going to be game-ending by any means whatsoever, but if he's going to be able to continue to scout, and this is around the time, for example, a second Stargate would be thrown down if HellRaiser was looking to go for it. So Serral's getting a beautiful scout out, and I think you should see that Robo if that Ling managed to survive a little bit longer.
I'm going to say this side tracking
he
thing has
kills
been really
the
cool
drone.
so far, by the way. I really like it.
He killed the drone that was becoming a spore crawler.
And Oracle's going to run out of energy here in a second. Got a Robo on the way on the other side from HellRaiser. Second Oracle's now here. Forces 2 more spores out. And he cancels. Oh my god, no!
Oh, okay. Well, almost was a pretty decent opening with the Oracle. Well, we got a couple more depths being warped in here.
Yeah, the third base is really easy to take here on this map and kind of secure. So it's going to go for just that, like you touched on it earlier. Forge on the way. I wonder if HellRaiser might be tempted to go for a similar timing. It might just be situational because he knew he was facing a lot of Hydralisks, which is something he reacted to very early last game. Whereas now, he's going for the Robo Wave. We see a Roach Warren, and I'm pretty sure, HellRaiser is going to know how to adapt, right? You don't just do one strategy and then hope for the best. Unless your name is Spotting and you're going for a Soul Train every game and you're still winning somehow.
Well, yeah, if you can put enough soul into your all-ins, that can definitely work. But like you said, we'll see if HellRaiser is going to be going for the same plan. He's going for +1 weapons, so I do think this is probably going to be Colossus, since that usually complements the Colossus really well, as opposed to, say, Disruptors.
Nobody's good enough to go Disruptors in most matchups directly, except M. Canning. So
Canning,
maybe one day they'll get on his level, but until now it's going to be Colossus, I think, a lot of the time.
Well, Serral will rue the day that he has to face off versus M. Canning. But for now, he's going to have
forfeit.
Well, he has to make sure that he is able to take this game, or it is going to be a forfeit, as, again, he's still down 0-1. So going for the Roaches, want to see what he's going to end up doing with them, as he's only sitting on 56 workers right now. He's pumping out a ton of Roaches, which I feel like would be really good if he was, for example, anticipating some sort of big Adept attack or some kind of just big pressure play. And there's the Nidus one. I was going to say, like, you're either doing this really defensively at this drone count, or you're looking to throw down a Nidus and get offensive.
Yeah, 55 drones, and he starts going into a raw Roaches there. Here's the thing about this. This is an all-in, which it feels like a lot of the time there's already going to be enough units from the opponent to defend against this, in my opinion. Like, as long as he gets in position and kills the Nidus right off the bat. So unless Serral has like a crazy plan of dropping multiple Niduses simultaneously.
HellRaiser's in the middle of the map, though. HellRaiser is not back at home to help deal with the Nidus one.
He has recall available, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, even that's going to take a bit of time. Okay, well, now he sees all the Roaches. A recall be damned. I don't think he can even safely recall right now. He's throwing down a bunch of these shield batteries and photon cannons. There is the recall coming out. I like those force fields, finding that high ground position. He is going to lose one of those sentries, but here we go. The Roaches are already at the front door, and more coming to reinforce.
Yeah, the Nidus might be being reinforced. I don't think I've seen him use any of them yet.
I haven't heard one yet. Okay, well,
he's in the main base. Okay, so he's keeping him busy at the front, and HellRaiser trying to hold on. There's just not going to be enough. And Serral gets the equalizer. Wow, some very sudden endings here in those games so far.
It's so funny because the first game, while of course it did look like Serral was caught a bit off guard, I did feel like HellRaiser was able to kind of push in and really do a good job with the micro you're talking about, like, for example, keeping the Warp Prism back and everything and being able to make that engagement work. The second game is more of what I sort of thought HellRaiser's win over Serral would look like, where it's like, haha, surprise, I have stuff, and you weren't ready for it. HellRaiser just taps out because he is totally unprepared for that big roach attack. Forget the Nidus Worm.
You welcomed him back to reality. The reality in which he does not lose.
That's the scary thing about Serral, Todd, is that he is not some sort of one-trick pony who just, oh, you know, he's really good at macro, but he has that weakness of cheese, or he's just a really predictable player. No, Serral is a really good all-around player, so you have to be prepared for the cheese. You have to be prepared for the macro.
He had way more roaches than I thought he would have at this point, to be honest. I thought he was just going to load everything up in the Nidus and go for a Nidus somewhere, but actually what he did was much smarter. He attacked with everything at the front, and then threw down the Nidus at the same time. And being able to get on top of that Colossus was key as well, because I was going to die here. And I think that's also why HellRaiser just tapped out, because he knew the Nidus was finishing in the main base. And even if somehow he can barely shut it down, another one's going to be dropped down, and he was already losing a lot of his key units. I think ideally, if he had fully realized what was happening, maybe just sack the third base. Evacuate, because he was doing well on the walk account. He was ahead on the walk account.
I mean, there weren't even Ravagers in the push, so he could have at least bought some time. For example, if his army was already back at home, force fielding that ramp is a big thing. Then some of the Colossus start popping out. Maybe some more force fields get thrown down as Ravagers pop out. So we're going to be jumping into game number 3 as we start down here at the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Top of the blue Zerg player. He goes by the name of Team Ence's Serral.
His opponent in the reds, representing Clash, it is HellRaiser. Opening with a pylon, not on his side of the map. So we're going to be seeing some cheeky here, some cheeky strat here in map number 3. Save the best for last.
There's 1, there's 2. He's looking for the 3rd. He's waiting for the resources, and bada bing, bada boom. Forge. Okay, I actually really like this variation. So with this, you can rally out Zealots, and you can start planting down the offensive cannons and sort of inch your way forward. And whenever the Zealots are starting to get, I guess, harassed by the Queens, you have a place to retreat back to, which is massive.
Can Serral realize what's happening just from seeing the timing on that probe? Very unlikely, I guess. He's already going for a gas, which is usually a plus when you're facing any kind of cannon rush or rush, because then you can go into lair or roaches and kind of react to it better.
Interesting pylon placement. So this isn't going to be to create any sort of a wall over at the front, but Serral is not really. He's pulling 2 drones, I believe, maybe a 3rd.
Yeah. You know what this pylon placement is? It is, this is my home, not you. Because he's just going to make cannons and cover them with Zealots anyway.
This is some really, really aggressive cannon placement and pylon placement. Because, yeah, the drones are going to get pulled over here. They can get a lot of surface area on both of these cannons. So I don't see either one of these finishing up. The Zealots are going to be coming out. There, of course, are going to be the cancels.
More cannons are going to be forced, but they're kind of all the way back. I guess they will reach the hatchery.
Though one of them might barely be able to reach it, but it's really close, Todd. I'm actually not sure. I think the Zealots are going to have to do most of the work here.
And we have a gas go down here on the other side, as some Lynx are going to try to go for a counter-attack here.
Yeah,
they come back, actually. They changed their mind.
I was going to say, if they can force a... Well, they actually, just by moving out, it did force another pylon over there from
Wait, he's attacking the main hatchery. What the hell? With the Zealots.
Oh, okay, that's really aggressive. These Zealots are just going to get surrounded. One of them goes down. The second one goes down.
Yeah, that first one was attacking the main hatchery for some reason, and the Lynx just went to town and took it out.
Was that a mistake? I feel like that must have been,
It must be, yeah. And now Roach Run's about to finish.
He's doing it again. Okay.
So he's injecting, so he's going to get a ton of Roaches, then into Ravagers, and maybe go for some sort of counter-attack, which would be very hard to handle.
Okay, well, it seems like those Zealot attacks are absolutely intentional. He is in range of this hatchery, so, I mean, the cannon will eventually take down the hatchery, but remember that if he loses that forward cannon, just the one on the right-hand side, the hatchery will actually be a good bit safer, but
it's actually really bad that the other one does not reach. That hatchery would already have been dead. Now, Serral's using the lava. He's using the lava to get more Roaches. He's going to get a ton of them. And then he can just morph them into Ravagers, spam Corrosive Bile, take out these cannons, move out, and break free.
Shield Batter's coming down, but are they going to be coming down a little bit too late? The Broodling's even adding in a bit of extra DPS over here. Ravager getting focus fire down by that Photon Cannon, but it is not enough. The Zealots come forward, but they are going to be taken out. And 2 Shield Batteries on their own. Todd, yeah, you're going to cancel those.
I mean, where does HellRaiser go from there? Yeah, I think he's going to try to buy himself time by threatening a shade forward inside of the main base of Serral so that Serral doesn't counterattack and kill him. On his side of the map, HellRaiser has a choice to make. What does he go for? Robo, Stargate, there's an Overlord just right above the pylon that he has in his main base. Basically saying, I'll see whatever you make here.
Okay, well, the time buying doesn't seem like it's actually buying nearly as much time as he was hoping for. And remember, this is pretty much all of his production outside of that Robo that's coming down back at home. If these Ravagers have pushed back these Adepts far enough, now they can just go after the Pylon and depower both of the gateways over here, as well as the Cyber Core. There won't be any Warp Gate either, Todd. This is a problem. This is a massive problem.
Yeah, and in the meantime, Serral's just retaking the Expo. You can count on him to re-drone up. And those two Ravagers, they're going to be a real threat here across the map. They can just keep on spamming Cozy Valley. I'm really surprised that there is no shield battery being made back at home.
Uh-oh. Is that cannon a little bit too late? It's going to take a lot of damage here from the Ravagers. It's already lost its shields right now, and we're going to start to see those Ravagers. They can just take on that cannon. Once the cannon's gone, Todd, there are no more units going to be coming out. I think those Ravagers... Okay, there's a couple of Adepts recalling. That will be enough, but he's going to force some probes off of mining. Even these Adepts, one of them gets taken out. A second one getting a bit lower. Serral is in complete control of this game.
Yeah, he's going to unpower those gates here eventually. In the middle of the map. It's just that Warp Gate didn't finish on time, so that means Cyber Core is going to have to be remade back at home for HellRaiser. Who right now, he would love to be expanding. I mean, the good thing about this, though, is that he has a Robo back at home, so he can make 2 Immortals and one Warp Prism, and then he can hold an infinite amount of roaches.
That's true. That's what I saw on Reddit, and that's also what I saw, I'm pretty sure, on Nurtrio's Twitter. So this one probe looking to try and grab the natural. It does get sniped before, of course, HellRaiser can save it, but he has another probe. He's going to throw down that expansion, but that is still a big ask, Todd.
Lair just finished. Oh, I was going to say, does he go for a Spire? Because he's already mining a decent amount of gas.
Hey, Todd. How do you defend against Mutalisks if you don't have any gateway units whatsoever? This is like actually
200 IQ Stargate.
This is a really smart play.
I actually think he didn't even make it to try and counter Spire, but
you don't think so?
Yeah, to transition after his Robo rather, because he doesn't have Warp Gate anyway. Which, by the way, there was never a Cyber Core remade.
You're right. So that's a little awkward.
He's playing mech. He's playing Protoss mech.
Well, the big problem here is that I think it would be extremely helpful on the defense to have some shield batteries, right? But I guess he's already in a really tough economic spot, so can he even afford them? The shield batteries are still helpful versus Mutalisks as well. Well, the Oracle's going to get scattered over here.
Serral is rubbing it, by the way. He's just standing there with his Overlord. He's like, I can see you.
He's like, what are you going to do about it? You have to make a Phoenix first.
Yeah.
Another Immortal getting made now, and I don't see anything out of the Stargate.
HellRaiser is like, no, I'll not make a Phoenix.
Yeah.
And Serral is like, well, fine. Mutas are going to fly in any second now.
Todd, I was so excited. I thought this was the next level IQ Stargate, which was just preemptively hard countering this Spire.
It could have been, I don't know. It would have been very hard for him to scout. I guess he would have had to send in the Adepts. I think the big problem is that the Pylon finished too late back at home, and he didn't have any shield battery to help it. If that had happened, the Adepts would still be across the map. And even without shading them in, he could just send the shade, cancel it, maybe spot the Spire.
So Cybernetics Core is now on the way, but he's still not starting up any of those Phoenix, which really does indicate not only does he not know about the Spire, but he doesn't know how many Mutalisks are about to make their way across the map.
8 of them.
That's 1 Phoenix versus 8 Mutalisks. Todd, I think I know how that battle goes. And it doesn't go how it goes in the Micro Trainer.
That soup does not lie.
Oracles might be the first things to get the scat out on the Mutas. I think the idea here is buy as much time as possible, because maybe, just maybe, if Serral doesn't go straight across the map, you can get out 3 or 4 Phoenix. But even that's a very, very tough ask. Shield battery's on the way.
Drops another Stargate immediately. I like that, but I mean... Oh my god, Serral starts Corruptor production immediately. He's already mining so much gas. He's like, you want an air battle? I'll give you an air battle. He already knew that was going to happen pretty much.
Oh, that one Phoenix is already surrounded by the Mutas. Takes a lot of damage there. The Warp Prism is going to get taken out. The probes are now just going to get focused far down. And remember that Serral is already okay with just trading out these Mutas for probes. He's okay with losing every one of these Mutas if he just kills that entire mineral line, because HellRaiser does not have a transition point. Both of these Stargates now in clear vision, and Serral knows what an amazing spot he is in. He's doing more damage to those Phoenix, and the shield batteries, of course, are a little bit outside the range now. Another one of these Phoenix looks like it's going to go down, and Serral topples his opponent yet again, 2-1.
Yeah, HellRaiser with a fantastic performance, though. It was so convincing in game number 1. Those were some crazy games, though, in general.
Yeah.
Like some very sudden ending in game number 1 and 2, and game number 3. That's as wild as it gets. Proxy gateways into the cannon rush. That Serral held just good enough, and at the right counter attack, and to be able to claim the win.
I feel like there were some small things that HellRaiser maybe could look into doing a bit differently in that last game, like the cannon positioning, or those zealots that he suicided in to right-click down the hatchery.
Yeah.
That definitely didn't work.